Yeah, welcome to EEP 16, and today I would like to give you a hopefully very brief update on this. I call it Heimbruch now because I don't want to call it just after one model, which is this ropeway. That is certainly the key feature of this layout, and the layout is built around this ropeway, and we don't even see it here on this screen. That is a little rural train station that I talked about early on, and I've actually spent the last week mainly on getting this a little bit further advanced. So I built the platforms, the crossing as a bridge, the lamps, the parking lot. Here's a little lake with some hikers and some. I think there are free models. You can download these signs, and I think they look fantastic. Unfortunately, I don't know who provided them anymore. Well, I can look this up, I believe. Quickly look. LD1. Thank you, LD1. Back to drive mode. Put some little forest animals out, not that they would ever in daylight be visible on a meadow directly by a busy train station, but okay. Don't want to dwell on this too long. There's here a little service area, a rail yard. This dad is angry because his kids crossed the tracks to play here near the bridge. And these people unload coal to refill this bunker here. Here they clear some more forest to create space for the railroad. And all these areas are, in a good shape, but not quite finished. I know people that would do much more here, and I will hopefully too, in order to make it more realistic. And a thing that I did to aid operations is, my initial plan was to put here a virtual depot here, so that trains would come out of this forest, basically. However, that doesn't work the way I thought it would work. And a virtual depot, the trains are actually dumped in their full length on the track in front of the depot. And since this used to be the end of the layout, the train basically was already in the station, which looked really silly when they came out. So I used the option to extend the layout by about 100 meters, and they can now leave here. And the depot is here, and the trains here that are driving here are so short that they are not visible in front of the tree. So they come actually driven out now from the trees. And this is actually the other side. There's a virtual connection to the other side of the track, which will be in the end connected to the next layout. But for now, to make it self-sufficient, I added this little fork here. Though trains that leaves the layout on the other side will go here, and then they just turn around, come back in here. Unless you look very closely, actually, it doesn't look even so awkward that these trains come right out of this forest. That is, I think, fully okay. I think the eye can deal with that and kind of assume that is a gap in the trees, albeit a very narrow one. As I built this little creek here, and this bridge. I'm not sure if the bridge is so fantastic, but try to get vegetation along the little creek. It's still not perfect. Actually, it's far from perfect. I'm still learning how to do this best. I'm just kind of randomly place grass, weeds, and bushes, and it kind of, from certain angles, it looks better than from other angles. Let's put it this way. I put here a pasture with cows. I built this village pub with some outside seating. I elevated this building just a little bit to make the layout a little bit less boring. If everything is flat, that is not the most ideal scenario. And then I tried myself in making here a little bit, well, a messy backyard. Behind a workman's shed, a rubble pile. I've seen that in a different layout, and I was very impressed by it. I didn't get the job quite done, but I think one can at least see what this is, and nobody takes care of this backyard, obviously. Well, here near the ropeway, I put the operation into play so that rail cars actually get filled one by one. If you have identical rail cars, you can't do that by contact, I found out. You have to use lure. But these are not identical rail cars. One comes with a little brake platform and the other one is without. So I could do it with contacts because they have different names, but I do it with lures and since that is easier. And then I found that it is fairly straight. Well, it can happen, let's put it this way. It can easily happen that this individual gondolas here get bunched up. Just one doesn't move when you restart the layout, and then they get too close. They're about a little control in here, and that is not my idea. That was in the demo layout with these invisible signals that get triggered by the the gondolas themselves. So when the gondola is here, should there be a near one, it will be stopped here at the invisible signal and be released so that the regular distances can establish themselves. I also worked on the initially very ugly textures here. I wanted to create a rubble field and stones and things like that, but it looked very artificial. It wasn't looking good at all. And now I'm actually quite happy with this look. It looks rocky and gravelly, and it is actually a texture supported by a few stone elements that I just place in here, that they just stick out as flat rocks. Perhaps a little bit like in the Muskokas in Canada, the Canadian Shield, sticking out with some crippled trees, if you've ever been there. Well, that I didn't do a good job. Here I want to have some workers working on the facade. Not sure what happened there. I think it got moved somehow. And I haven't placed the workers on there, obviously, or they're on break. I don't know. But this rail, or this rope, I always say rail, the ropeway looks actually fantastic. This is already one of the replacement parts that the designer created for free that you can add. And they provide the filling with the darker material. It's called coal, of course. But we pretend it's a dark looking stone. And put some controls in for this individual buckets here to empty properly and move. And it's actually quite some control required. You have to slow them down when they enter here to make it look realistic. Then you have to move the bucket when it comes close to this filling area. And then you have to start the texture that looks like something is pouring out. And then you have to also empty them. And then they go here into this area where they get stopped for a short period of time. That actually stopped just for a second. And then got released by the contact. Well, what else did I do? I put a few more bushes here around those creeks, but they are far from ready. I connected up this railway crossing with contact, so cars are stopping now when the train comes. This lake isn't ready at all, but I did work here on top. I created this house here, which is kind of a lonely house out in the nowheres, where people have a little property. Perhaps they work also here at the stone quarry. And I did a little bit more movement and activity here. So I was a little bit careful that this big excavator doesn't float through the air and is actually always on the ground, that his shovel goes into the ground is actually very believable, since he wants to dig something out. And then we have here this I don't even know the English word, this push tractor that works here on this piles of the stones that are then here loaded. The only really unfortunate thing, and I draw attention even though it's not necessary, is that the texture of this conveyor belt is really not the texture of the stuff that we are loading. And I probably have to find another one. This truck just goes forward and backward and comes back here just to create some activities in this area. And I've added this big excavator that works here on this big pile of material that is not needed. I will kind of fill this up with gores and thick brushes, but not with trees. Take a quick look at if this is actually working. I just installed it before making this video. I hope it works. I always get confused when you make one signal depending on another one. Which one is the one that is active and which one is the one that is the driver. Yeah, they seem to stop. That is working on both sides. I did it wrong initially, that's why I'm looking. Then I changed it. And they should be released just after the train is crossing. Yeah, fine. That looks, it's working. I put a little bit of waviness here in the terrain. I'm not sure if that looks okay just as it is. I don't want to put a big tree in the center just to give it some accent, but I also put some waviness into this ground. It's not really visible unless you look very closely to the ground. I may have to accentuate that with more grass, and that is certainly one of the areas here that is not finished. This area here is not finished. These two buildings here, I haven't really have a good solution what to do there. But my biggest problem is that I don't know how to border these open areas. Should I have trees really come out? Or should I just have a row of bushes and another pasture? I'm struggling to imagine that really, how that would look. I don't want to just, put everything full of trees and hide it away that way. Even though it's probably not looking bad, but that wasn't the intention. Anyhow, there's a little bit road traffic now as well, as you may have seen. They just come here, turn around and leave again to create some background traffic, and that is actually enough for this layout. However, I made also progress in the next module that I have briefly shown before, and perhaps I show this quickly now that you have an idea what is intended there. Yeah, so that is the follow-up module that I have already connected now just to make sure it works. It does work. It connects as intended. I was afraid that there is some flip-flop and that I have the connections that have to match. All wrong. These backgrounds here, I'm not sure, with the two churches and the real church and this tower. There are a lot of towers on the horizon, so I may replace one of those two backgrounds with something else. I'm not sure yet. I created this bridge in the background, and because that is the end of this module. After this, it will go into some hilly area with a big river, and the train will follow the river. There will be a connection here through to the area where the ships get loaded. And indeed, I had to move everything closer to the stone bunker, and extend the length of this harbor basin so that also the train can reach into the ship, into the barge, the river barge. Otherwise, the harbor area hasn't changed at all. I'm not sure if I've talked about that. I've cleaned up the track a little bit and played around with roads. Here on this side, they are one-way roads. Some still have the lanterns out. I should remove this. I built this little perimeter fences. This and this. I'm actually very, very happy with how this looks. It looks even better than I thought it would. I'm very pleased with this type of fencing. But also this metal fence here looks very nice. Obviously, I have to do something here to make it look realistic. It's just floating around here because I didn't want to sink it behind the sidewalk too deeply. Yeah, this is a little bit an industrial area here. At the exit of this little town, there will be a repair shop, this factory, an old shed, and then some houses here across. As I said before, there will be a big hill. Trains will come out of that hill here after turning around, so I don't have to deal with the switching of, what is this? Never intended this to be here. Let's get rid of it. Then there's of course a lot of things that I have to take care of here on the harbor side. I've even started the next module just a track layout, but I don't want to show that. That is really boring at the moment, and there's nothing to be seen. But I think that if seen from close up, this houses look actually very believable. There have to be a lot of more decoration, signs, street signs, people, parked cars. That side border has to be blended into the texture here better. A lot of details to be done, and that is far from completed, but I never intend to watch this from an angle higher than this. So I think that the background actually does somehow work. It's okay. And the only thing I'm worried about is the electrification. I'm not sure if this pedestrian bridge here is high enough for that to fit underneath. It is already lifted to the level of the platforms here, so it's not even on the ground. Just double check that. I could probably, I'm not sure. It's intended to be like this. Otherwise the first step is very high. I tried to put one of those catenary posts here, just to see if it fits, and it does not. But then you don't have to put the catenary post directly under the bridge. That is absolutely true. However, if I electrify this line, where is it? Here. Then let's delete this for the moment. Even the electrical lines go through the bridge, which is not looking nice. And this is not even directly the end. It is kind of rather a lower point. Even the drive line is going through the wood. So I have to probably find out if I can extend this bridge in some way. I seem to be remembering from the description that it was supposed to work with a catenary line, but I have to double check on that. So maybe there is an extension that one can implement, or one can perhaps stretch this a little bit or put it even on a little socket to make it, it's not even half a meter. 30 centimeters would be almost enough, and you're probably good. Anyhow, that is a very small gripe to an otherwise very nice model. It's not as fancy as the one by Byronic or KS1. He built a very, very nice bridge, but it looked more for a much larger train station than this one was initially intended to be. And now I know the city kind of grew on me, and now it looks to be a much larger city than I intended when I put this station building out here, but kind of get carried away a little bit. But this is not supposed to be a major city. This is a small town, and I think that is still somewhat believable, especially from the size of the train station. Anyhow, that will be connected. It works just nice, and then we can connect the roads. I'll be curious to see how my single track road system on this side will interface with the 2-lane system on the other one. I've seen that there are adapters. I'll intend to use them, and I hope they work for these roads so that you can have a smooth connection of cars going from one system to the other. There will be no railway crossing because just down the track there is the one close to the outlet of the other module. So I'll probably make this to be an underpass here, and then this road continues to go somewhere into the distance. And the one from our initial will just join here in a T section. That's how that is intended. Well, actually I forgot something to mention in the previous layout that I really appreciate somebody telling me. So let me quickly go back once more. Sorry for jumping around here between different layouts. That was not initially intended. But I got some very good advice on this gardening project here. And the person who made the comment may already see that I have, however inexpertly, tried to implement it. He mentioned that all my bushes here looked identical in size. And that is kind of unrealistic, of course. And it looks much, much nicer now that it's almost too much, I think, almost. You could probably lessen the differences a little bit, and it would even look better. By the way, it wasn't visible. The picture was much too small, and it looked like a leaf pile. Actually, what these people here are supposed to be doing is digging a hole and planting these new trees that are lying here. So this is actually earth or soil. And but raking leaves is just fine. That works as well. But then I would probably have to remove the hole, and that is actually a great idea too. So he gave me credit for something that I don't deserve credit for in any case. That is now really everything. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate all the good tips I get. And hopefully see you in the next video, and wish you a wonderful evening for now. Bye-bye.